Welcome to the Red Shirt Podcast with your hosts, Vernon and Nigel. The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Red Shirt Podcast. Coming up on this week's pod, we'll be discussing the rise and the fall of the European Super League. We'll also be discussing the departure of Ed Woodward. We'll be talking about last week's 3-1 home victory over Burnley. And we resume old rivalries next Sunday with Leeds. Vernon and Nigel on the Red Shirt Podcast with two guest appearances who are making their debuts. We've got Umesh and we've got Anif. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hi, Nigel. Hi, Vernon. Hi, Umesh.
How you doing, guys?
Good. What I want to do, first of all, is I want to take us back to Sunday. And just as we finish the 3-1 victory over Burnley, I'm getting ready and relaxed, and I'm thinking, can't wait till 9 o'clock for a bit of line of duty. And then all of a sudden, on my Twitter lines, I start getting, obviously, the news of a breakaway Super League. First of all, guys, what I want to do is I want to ask you how you felt about it. Did you become numb? So if I start with you, Anif, how did you feel on Sunday when the news broke?
Well, it was madness because I didn't know I had the grandkids round. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden I opened up my phone and like on Facebook, it's like, what the hell's gone on? You know what I mean? And then it was like, nah, really? And then it was at flip on the radio. Every radio station was on it. That's what's mad about it. It went right across everything. You know what I mean? So it was absolutely mental, but it kind of, showed the power of football. You know what I mean? We had dear Philip gone. But this was even bigger than Philip gone, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. So it was just an utter madness. How I felt about it, well, it's utterly wrong, you know what I mean, just simple as that. And I actually went on and said, this is going to go political within hours. And I had another friend who was going to go, oh no, they'll stay out of it. I went, no chance, mate.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Philip because I felt like I'd lost a family member. I felt that. I'm telling you, I felt a pit in my stomach. I thought, no, this is not right. This emotion inside me is like physical loss, and I think it's that uncertainty because, if you're a lifelong Red and all of a sudden your club, I felt like I've been cheated. That's what it was. You know something? I felt like somebody had cheated on me, and it was just indescribable. The minute I kind of heard it and. To a certain extent, my mind kind of went back to 2019 when it was rearing its ugly head then as well. And I thought, it's not got legs. But the more I kind of read into it, and then you realise that letters of intent had been signed.
Yeah.
I thought, whoa, this is going to change the face of it, seriously.
Let me show you. I'm wearing a black top today. I really felt like somebody had died. Do you remember when 9/11 happened? It's like, where was you when 9/11 happened? And there's no exaggeration to say it really felt like a moment in time. Something really extraordinary was happening. And I immediately was in mourning because I thought there's no way I am supporting this club any longer. If what I'm hearing is true, that's the end of football as we know it. And in my heart, I thought, I can't in all good conscience support this. I can't support a football club that is so blatantly greedy. Now, we've talked about the Glazers for years. We know that they've never really taken the time to invest in the culture, invest in the football, invest in our history. And it's like knowing they're weasels, but then the day when they actually show you and prove to you that actually, yes, they are weasels and everything we thought about them has now come true. Everything that we knew they probably did, all the conspiracies, all the planning that they had, we knew would be exposed one day. And it's like, it's happening in glorious technicolor. And now we'll see what we've already known. It was just, and I thought, I'm in mourning because I've lost my club. There's no way I'm going to support them anymore. Hence why I was wearing black.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Nigel, because I'm going to take you guys back because we're all of a similar age. So as we were growing up, European football was basically, if you can remember, guys, the UEFA Cup, the Cup Winners' Cup, and obviously the European Cup. The guys that won your league, which was the first team. They got put in the European Cup. 2 to 6 went in the UEFA Cup. And whoever won the FA Cup went into the Cup Winners' Cup. So I want to take you back to 1989 when Real Madrid got AC Milan in the first round of the European Cup. And basically, there was rumours. They were upset. Real Madrid got knocked out that year by AC Milan. And the first thing they did was to try to create a Super League. Now, that's in 1989, yeah? And that's when the Champions League was born. That's when it was created. Now, a bit like you, Nigel, you were talking about a moment in time there, weren't you? You remembered where you was. And we all remember where we was when you last bought us a drink. Do you know what I
No,
mean?
don't laugh. Don't encourage him because it's not funny. Yeah. Listen, mate, the world has changed and your daddy jokes are going to end tonight.
But going back to, I felt numb. I felt absolutely numb. I'd enjoyed the 3-1 victory. I had 3-1 victory over Burnley. And I just thought I wanted to enjoy my Sunday night. And then this bombshell goes, because I think a lot of us know that UEFA were about to bring in the Swiss project, weren't they? They were going to bring in the new rules to the Champions League for 2020 from 2024 onwards. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I kind of personally felt that once these guys like Agnelli, obviously, Perez had resigned from the ECA, it was almost like the biggest game of poker had started, and it was all about who blinked first.
There is I think it was most powerfully said when Gary Neville, was on the TV, and it was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And they let him kind of say what he said unchallenged, you know what I mean? Because you kind of really, with mainstream media, they worry about when people put out massive statements like that as like the backlash, you know what I mean? So that was a big moment, and everyone was kind of agreeing with him. But, I still actually would like to know I think something should happen personally to the owners themselves.
So I don't want to turn this into a political podcast, but we're talking about a government who have absolutely no issues with monopolising where and how the money is distributed.
Yeah.
So why on earth would they punish people when they're not acting in the public's best interest?
Correct.
They're not creating. They've created a monopoly from the top down.
Umesh, can I jump in here and say I totally agree with you, but this is bigger than anything. Football traverses politics, religion, everything. You know what I mean? And they're not daft to let that thing run its own course. They had to step in. Absolutely had to. Boris, he doesn't even like football. He's most probably got whiff-waff. You know what I mean? And stuff. They knew they had to. In fact, I'll tell you how bad it was. Starmer tweeted within 55 minutes. He's done nothing. So it was that bad. You know what I mean? So I knew then that this was going to go, glow nuclear really, 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 really quick, and they had to step in. You know what I mean? And they're going to come out of it smelling roses. And when they've done nothing, it'll be interesting to see. I'm going to. If that's what I kind of say, if we can force them, because I in 2010 I went and sat down with an MP saying that we should have fan ownership 50%. When the Glazers took over United, I was saying this is out of order. We should have like the Germans thingy, the German model and thingy, and that I won't name that particular MP, was a Labour cabinet minister and such, and he was like, I don't know. And even he knew the power of football, that, politicians didn't mess with football. You know what I mean? And it never happened and such. But, to see what kind of happened in the last 24 hours has shown us, the power of the game, the power of people, and that, we can enforce change. You know what I mean? What will be interesting, though, is to see if they're talking about, having this thing committee, but we absolutely know it's going to get watered down. And as Umesh has said, it will be business as normal. It will allow the kind of monopoly and the, pyramid down to remain.
The greatness of European football is the fact that you only get to play Real Madrid once every 8 years. You get to play PSG maybe once in 10 years, Bayern Munich once in 5 years, it just would have been a massive turn-off, wouldn't it, after a while? After a season.
And this is exactly what happens when Americans get involved in things that they know nothing about. I even hear one of the Glazers went on record as saying, I still don't understand the offside rule. You know, people have tried to explain it to me, and I still don't understand. I still don't get it. And now, when you watch basketball, they do play. In fact, don't they go through this entire thing exactly the same format? And then it's like the final is a best of 7 games. So you've got 7 finals.
The playoffs. I mean,
the playoffs, exactly. And it's like, this is an absolute nightmare. But the Americans, for whatever reason, seem to love this. But then the Americans love all sorts of weird things. I'm not anti-American, but I understand that their mindset, their culture has no place in the European game, the game that we all love and the game that we all have grown up enjoying. We love the Jeopardy. Jeopardy's part is the reason why we play football, in that you can get a small team. We love nothing more than giant killing. It's like they just fundamentally misunderstand our game. It's beggars belief.
Well, the reason
FA Cup, every year, we're always looking for the minnows placed against the big team. And then you sit there and you're like, yes, come on, beat the big team, beat the big team, beat the big team. And it's like the joy of it. I mean, even as a United fan, you kind of think, right, okay, we should be winning this. I remember, and I know we're going to come on to Leeds a little bit later on, but we played them, I must be going back 15, 16 years, FA Cup. And we lost, and it was like, but Leeds were a small team then. Yeah. But, you know, no,
it was that long ago we lost against Derby.
Anyway, Ed, as you know, unfortunately,
Sorry, I was more joyous about that than Mourinho, and I actually went on the day before on 5 Live, having never ever been on the radio in my life, cussing Mourinho. The next day got sacked. So Woodward going is like.
All right, so just 2 minutes on Mourinho. I'm convinced Paul Pogba's interview was the final nail in that coffin. I thought that was incredible. Just the things he was saying, and you knew that the Tottenham dressing room was already struggling at stretching point. And Paul Pogba's interview, I'm sure, was like a grenade in there. I missed
it. What interview?
The interview on Sky. But I think personally, this was obviously happening. We've seen this happening at United. The same things, the same problems with with the actual players, putting everybody under the bus but not blaming him. But the very fact that Anif was willing to spend 18 pence per minute and go on national radio.
Telling you, mate. I was livid. I've actually got a recording of it. I was livid. And then the next day, Mourinho was gone and went, rah. Jeez, and he's got a big mouth, man. You know what I mean? I thought Mourinho was going to be outside my yard in a Range Rover. You know what I mean?
Do you think he's done a good job at United?
It's interesting. I was thinking about this, and I started to look through everything that he apparently has achieved since he's been there. Now, one thing we know is that people will write, and there are column inches filled with it, that he's brought commercial success. He's incredibly good at getting contracts for this, that, and the other. Now, I kind of made a little note to myself, and I thought, is it really a success to be able to get a contract for probably the biggest footballing brand in history, because of everything that we've gone through, to turn around and say, do you want to give us a big bag of money and we'll sponsor you, sponsor us, and you'll be on our shirt, you'll be in our club, whatever it is. It's not a difficult thing, is it? Surely. And I was having a look, and people are saying, he's overhauled the academy. Right? Okay. Did it? What did he actually do to overhaul the academy? Was he out there? Did he handpick Nicky Butt? Pretty certain he's been at the club since the early 90s. You know exactly what he was there. Sorry, even into the 80s. There's just no way that anyone can turn around and say, Ed Woodward, you've done a good job. I've had several conversations with people about United and whether we've improved and what's going wrong. And the thing that comes to my mind is, after Ferguson went, and I know it was a big shot that Gill went at the same time, that was a huge thing, because all of a sudden we'd become accustomed to this 27 years of consistency with Ferguson. We had a decade of David Gill. They worked in tandem so well. They understood each other. Then all of a sudden, we've got David Moyes, who knows nothing about Ed Woodward. Ed Woodward, who knows nothing about football. Where is this going? It can't be a success. It can't be him. He hasn't overhauled everything. I think some of it has been the fact that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has brought people back, or asked to bring people back that he know the club, understand the DNA. We've heard it time and time again. And, Ferguson did that. He understood the DNA. He was copying the DNA of Matt Busby, the Busby Babes, and everything that we stood for. If you look at how many academy graduates we've had in a starting squad, are we going back 80, 90 years now?
Now, is it 1933? I think it's 1933. What each year
1933.
And let's have it right. I mean, you make some great points there. And just to add to what you said, that stadium's a joke.
Absolutely.
If we're supposed to be the biggest brand, certainly the biggest brand in the UK. We're a global brand. Our stadium's a joke. Man City make us look like a joke in terms of that their owners have come in, their state-of-the-art stadium. They've completely redeveloped the whole of the east side of Manchester.
Yeah, but hold on. They rented that off Manchester City Council. Let's have it right. Yeah.
Those guys,
you know what I mean? And they didn't even pay the rent for the first amount of when they were in there. You know what I mean? But yeah.
You can say all that if you want. The bottom line is those people, on the east side of Manchester, that stadium on the east side of Manchester is a state-of-the-art stadium.
Yeah, they wanted to build a casino as well, and which that's what they wanted, a massive casino overgot, and that's been.
Yeah, but you're missing my point. We're Manchester United. If anyone's got a state-of-the-art stadium in Manchester, it should be us, and it's not us. That stadium's fallen up. That stadium leaks. I know it leaks because it's dropped on my head.
Yeah.
That stadium's leaking. Yeah.
No, that was pigeon doo-doo, actually. Don't, let's get it right. You know what I mean? That wasn't water.
It was his idea to borrow money and leverage it against United. We'd never been in debt since the 30s or something.
You're right.
And it was his idea. It was his brainchild to buy United and leverage the debt against it. So for years upon year, we've got crazy interest rates. Our credit rating went from high 80s down to 50. That's all Ed. So when you talk about what's Ed done for United, absolutely nothing.
The job of the CEO is to get the money for the manager to reinvest into the club. That's his job in principle. Now, he signed all these great deals with, the world's best Chilean wine company and, the best beans from Bolivia, and we're still years behind, a couple of years behind at least now, City when it comes to squad. So, yes, he's an incredible businessman and he's brought a lot of money in, but I think he's failed when it comes to reconstructing the squad, which is his job to do. Moving on from Ed and his departure, Joel Glazier obviously sent out an open letter to the fans today. Now, if I would have your opinions on this, guys. Umlesh, if we can start with you. Umesh?
I didn't even bother to write my wedding speech, mate. But I got involved, okay? I got involved.
Go on.
I'm going to take you through it, if you'll allow me to.
Yeah.
It says, over the past few days, we have all witnessed the great passion which football generates and the deep loyalty our fans have for this great club. Okay, we've known this all along. Yeah. Why has it taken him 16 years to figure that out?
Yeah.
Surely he did his due diligence. Okay, then it says, you've made very clear your opposition to the European Super League and we have listened. We got it wrong and we want to show that we can put things right. Well, hang on a second. This was talked about in 2019. Was that not indication enough that this would be unacceptable?
Actually, 2016.
2016. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah, I saw the interview with Graham Souness. 2016, we talked about.
And it goes on, mate. I'm personally committed to rebuilding trust with our fans and learning from the message you've delivered with such conviction. Is he going to start turning up to the stadium? Don't think so.
No.
Don't think we'll see him there on a weekly basis. Don't think we'll see him holding a fans forum. Don't think we'll ever see him pictured with a fan in my life. Even if he turned up outside and bought a hot dog, I'd respect him more. And even if he didn't go into the stadium afterwards. And it goes on. And this is the best bit. He continuously uses the word we. We continue to believe that European football needs to become more sustainable. Who is this magical we? It seems like a very small table made up of his mates. And it's all about this. He's talking about a sustainable model for European football. What you're saying is you want a sustainable income that you can continue to service the debt and pay large dividends to your family members and those that you want to keep around you. And it's in seeking to create a more stable foundation for the game, we fail to show enough respect for its deep-rooted traditions, promotion, relegation, the pyramid, and for that we are sorry. Which basically translates as, we really don't give a damn about what you think. We try to cash in quick and do it before anyone realised, and we fail. Again, 16 years of owning our football club. That is the biggest sign of disrespect I have ever come across. It's important that we put this right. Manchester United has a rich heritage, and we recognise our responsibility to live up to its great traditions and values. Again, why is it taking so long? Is he even fit to run a club of the statue?
No.
Manchester United, if he can't recognise our heritage, 5 minutes round the museum, you understand the heritage. You look at the pictures, you feel it. Even as I'm saying it now, the hairs on the back of my neck are standing up, thinking about when I walked through the museum and I saw the history of Munich. I saw the trophy cabinet and everything else. This is the worst kind of apology. It'd have been better off not saying anything.
I felt that.
The pandemic. The pandemic has thrown up so many unique challenges, and we are proud of the way Manchester United and its fans from Manchester around the world have reacted to the enormous pressures during this period. Tell me one thing he understands about pandemic pressures. There's been the biggest shift of wealth from poor to rich in the last 12 months in history. Something like 2 trillion has gone from the poor to the rich. They have done nothing from profit, from poverty, from everything that we have suffered. And it's absolutely ridiculous. In the background, you can be sure that we will be taking the necessary steps, and I don't even want to read anymore.
Even the last bit there kind of shows the power. Football came back during a pandemic. We've got to think about this. No crowds, but they've managed to get the football back on TV. Everything else stopped.
Yeah.
And you know what? Truthfully, it kept us sane. For 3 hours, we forgot about all the nonsense outside. We were able to shout and have a little bit of normality. It shows the power of this game. Hence why I kind of say this is why when the politicians got involved, you know what I mean? Because I think they were kind of thinking, oh, our billionaire mates have really messed up here. We have got to get in here and sort this out. Tell them they've done a wrong'un. You know what I mean? And I keep going on. I think it's going to be up to fans. I really want players as well to open their mouths, open their Twitter feeds, and kind of say, you know what went on was out of order. You know what I mean? And so they're not going to get sacked. You know what I mean? The actual clubs themselves and staff will back them. But I think it's a time whereby there's got to be a give back. You know what I mean? Whereby I really do think kind of more fan ownership. And I'm not on about 20,000, whereby we have a strong committee that's elected that represents fans, so we can deal with merchandise, ticket pricing, that they can't just kind of do a bully up the price like they did for Liverpool, you know what I mean, and it kicked off and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.
And what I would say is, I think if the last 48 hours have taught us anything, it's that when push came to shove, when our game was being stolen from us, football fans of every colour came together and stood up and said, not on our watch. And they did it. And, people talk about where was this energy for racism in football? We could truly have kicked out racism long ago if we'd have taken it seriously like we took this seriously. It took this to wake up every football fan. And thank goodness, it was a wondrous thing to behold where fans of every colour came together. And probably people with no colour, people that weren't even fans, but just saw the injustice taking place before our eyes, stood up and said, count us in. We're not going to allow this to happen. And so I just hope against all hope that we continue this momentum, because the things that Annie will talk about are exactly what we should be doing. But what the big six and what the fat cats are hoping is that we'll all get on with life, that, we'll get back, it'll be business as usual. And it's really important. Like you say, it's a watershed moment. We really need to. Well, it's now the time. If we don't do it now, it's not going to happen again.
Well, I'm going to say, you brought up a subject which is kind of dear to me, because I think, ironically, on today of todays, when I'm going to make a link from George Floyd to taking a knee. To me, I still think that's so powerful. I'm going to say something that might seem weird here, but I think the English football game, the British football game, is years ahead in terms of how it's dealt with racism than many other places. You go Eastern Europe or you go Italy, trust me, mate, it's a whole different thing when you stand in them stands, etc. Yeah. You know what I mean, and stuff. And I think we haven't patted ourselves on the back enough for what we do, what's been happening on the pitch and off the pitch, because it's only a few loons that spoil it and stuff. Yeah, we've got the players who are now kind of saying Twitter and Instagram and these thingies, they can do something about these racist tweets, etc.
Instagram have actioned that today, haven't they?
Have they?
Instagram, yeah. Instagram.
Right, see?
Have done that. I think because basically...
they can track them, they can find them.
Yeah. Clubs, you see, the thing with the thing with going back to what we were saying there, with football and the racism, stopping racism doesn't have a monetary effect to football, and that's why they won't do it, right?
This is why the government were quick to act to get involved with this, but had they shown the same efforts to sort of do something about racism? I mean, you think about the fact that a report was commissioned and carried out and subsequently found that there isn't any systemic racism, and it was all carried out in-house.
Correct.
I agree that, it seems that we are quite a way ahead in terms of tackling racism, but I absolutely don't think that we've got a second to pat ourselves on the back.
No. I didn't mean pat on the back. I meant it. Ron Atkinson in certain other places with his racism would be still. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. You know what I mean?
We absolutely need to celebrate the things that we have achieved within the game with regards to racism, but
there's a long way to go.
We're talking about 300 years of oppression for people of colour, and the game of football has been going for a lot less than that, probably half the amount of time, and people of colour in football matches and players and things like that. I mean, I remember as a kid, I was told point blank, you're not playing football. And there were black footballers in the game. I remember Cyril Regis and all of those sort of trailblazing players that did it for the rest of us. But at the time, and I think as different cultures come into the game, there's a lack of understanding. And it's going to be the same no matter where we go. The huge momentum that the thing that with George Floyd gave us needs to continue. It needs to push on. It needs to get bigger and bigger and bigger. If we're going to start to claw back some of the decades, if not centuries, of oppression that people of colour have suffered in our national game.
Well, and the other thing we can see is like UEFA play lip service with stop rate, the nice little videos, you know what I mean, and then letting off teams with blatant. So I think they're going to be kind of suffering because they're under now the microscope as well. You know what I mean? And I think we should be putting pressure on them.
I'm glad you brought that point up because I think that I mean maybe you might talk about it, Vernon, but UEFA don't come out of this looking any with any credit. Even the push back, but make no mistake, UEFA and FIFA are up to their necks in corruption. We've always known this.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I say this watershed moment. It's amazing how this moment almost captures racism, corruption,
politics, billionaires,
the social divide. Everything
kind of
all at once. Only football can do this, man.
Exactly. A great debate, guys. But what we've got to do is all be, like we say, put our hands together, unite, and let's fight for this because as fans, we do matter, and we've proved the fight in the last couple of days because, as Sir Matt Busby said, football without fans is nothing. We're going to talk about Anif's favourite team, Burnley.
Well, I made some. I didn't know what was going to happen. I even made notes I struggled to get the first half, you know what I mean, and stuff. Everyone's now happened anyway, truthfully. You know, even to Rashford's wear move and put that defender down, whoa, you know what I mean, and stuff.
Yeah,
but
flip-flopped him, didn't he?
Yeah, proper. But you know, there was aspects of that game, Vernon, which I just thought were woeful. You know what I mean, and stuff. In terms of the big ball over the top was giving us trouble. I kind of think, well, you know, if Roma were playing in it in Europa,
yeah.
If they see that, they're gonna, you know, will they try and do that? You know what I mean, and stuff. You know,
they've got a player who knows how to bully us as well because they've got Edin Dzeko, haven't they?
Right. You know what I mean. There was aspects of it where I'm going to say it was embarrassing.
Did you think in the first half, because again we showed that European hangover? We spoke about it, Nigel, me and you, in last week's podcast, didn't we? That the first half we almost just go through the gears, don't we? We start very
I don't even think it's a European hangover. Clearly, they're on it every weekend.
Yeah.
Because it's every weekend. It's not just a European hangover. Before that, it was always international break hangover. Before that, it was a Saturday. It was a hangover.
I think reason why I think it's adrenaline. I think United, when they go 1-0 down, I think they're going to lose. It's like, oh shit, we've got to start playing now. You know what I mean? But when that first half, you never see that impetus or, you know, that energy. You know what I mean? And I think the fear of losing, because it's just passy, let, you know, go to the halfway line, pass it in, let, you know what I mean? It's like horrendous, you know, and you got Rashford who's just running into three players. What you're doing, the other thing I've got to say is absolutely, someone do stats on it. How often do Man United players attack the 6-yard box? They do not do it.
Unless we're not built like that anymore.
No,
we don't get width.
Yeah,
we simply don't. We're relying on the two fullbacks to get forward. That's where our width comes from. And that's when teams are going, well, hang on a second, we can just chuck a ball up because we've got someone like Chris Wood. He's a great target man. But one thing I want to say, because I know a lot of people are saying, oh, we're always sluggish in the first half. We're always sluggish in the first half. I kind of feel like there's a shift at the moment in terms of the way United are. And they're expecting to win games.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like they're saying, well, hang on a second. No, we know what we're doing. But yes, we might not look like we're absolutely going to steamroller this team, but we know our football will ultimately win us football matches. Yeah. And it's almost like this confidence is coming back. And it's like, well, hang on a second. No, we will get there. Mm. We absolutely will get there. Yeah. And yes, it might not look pretty in the first half, but we've got players. And when we click, even if it's for 10 minutes in a game, we can steamroller you. We can have absolute rubbish for 85 minutes, and in the last 5 minutes, we score 3.
And we'll probably just need to go down one day before we kick in, because that's what it's happened too many times. It's no longer a coincidence, is it? Literally every game we know how we're going to play. So Nigel, it is what it is now. We just have to get used to it.
Can I say, but it was strange watching the Tottenham game, because straight out the blocks, whether that was the adrenaline, the hate of Mourinho.
That's exactly what it was.
You know what I mean? Because that game was like, what? Hold on, I'm on the wrong channel here. You know what I mean?
This is why I can't stand Maguire. How on earth did he get bullied like that for their first goal? He actually got headed into the net with the ball. Did you not see that?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be the captain. Look at the size of him, and he gets. I mean, I'm not calling him slabhead anymore because he's no good. What's the point in having a head like that if you're not going to use it?
Well, I'm going to say, since we've had him, I don't rate him, but the headers out from set pieces, I think, have made for less goals against United than if we didn't have him, because we were terrible.
I'm not convinced by that.
No, come on. And we were absolutely terrible. I'm not a fan of his, but just that getting someone in, because what we put Cavani on the front, he's been doing a lot of work there as well on the front post, and then Maguire on kind of in the middle. You know what I mean?
I bet you'll find that Pogba clears more headers than
I'm not going to disagree with you. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
That's his job, though. He's the defender.
Just hold on, guys. Believe it or not, before Maguire came to the club, United were averaging something like, they'd average 6 clean sheets, before he came to the club. That's actually gone to 18. So even though he's sluggish, United are actually conceding less goals.
That's because of Fred, mate. I'm telling you.
No.
That's because of my man Fred. He's taking care of business.
Going on to the second half. Going back to the second half, guys. The second half. What a totally different team we are when Cavani comes on. I mean, I hate to say
He's a grafter.
He is, but you've just got to give it to Eddie Cavani.
I think arguably people would say that Zlatan Ibrahimovic was a much better overall striker than Edinson Cavani.
Yeah,
I mean, I know maybe his goals tally, but why didn't he have that much of an effect? Because the same players were there when he was there. Greenwood still was floating around the squad. Rashford was playing with him week in, week out. So is it the fact that Zlatan Ibrahimovic, his ego wouldn't allow him to teach in the way that Cavani does? And I think Cavani's movement is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. It is.
Phenomenal. I mean,
and it's not even the clever movement in the 18-yard line. He knows when to run the channel to create a gap in the middle. Correct. He knows when to go and stand out on the wing and then make that run inside. And I think defenders simply don't know what to do with him. They don't know whether the fullback's getting him. They don't know whether the centre-half's getting him. Then they're shouting midfielders and go, hang on a second, you get him, which then gives us time to move on. And one other thing I'm going to throw in there, which might be a little bit left field, but Donny van de Beek's movement is very similar. People see him as this player and they're like, why hasn't he scored a goal? Why hasn't he created assist? But actually, his clever little bits of movement, just moving people 2 yards out of the way. Now, we've all played five-a-side, okay? And we know that game of five-a-side, you need to move people around, even if it's a yard, 2 yards, to create these little tiny gaps. And we know what an effect it has when a player without the ball makes those runs. And I just don't think he's recognised for it. But Cavani is, because of the position he plays, he's then able to go and make a second run, get in the box, and actually finish as well.
We're going to go back now, and we're going to move on to next Sunday's game, which brings up one of our greatest rivals ever, Dirty Lads.
Oh, mate.
If you guys follow our podcast every week, which I know you guys do, you know that we have a special section for Thomas Tuchel and what he's wearing. Now, Leeds manager Bielsa is the only guy that can rival Tuchel. I mean, this is a guy that's been caught in Morrison's and Sainsbury's shopping in his training kit.
He's Nero in Leeds, man. I like him. Apparently, there's loads of positive things in Leeds, loads of character that he keeps on the down low. You know what I mean? So, you know, and you can see the affection that Pep has for him and some of the others, you know what I mean, and stuff. Yeah. So, you know, I think he's got something, you know what I mean? And especially the way he's got that team. You know what I mean? I couldn't believe it when I first saw him.
Do you think he's going to change tactics, though? Because he's unapologetic. He'll just play the same way, no matter who's in front of him. He's playing the same way.
He's the only guy that can get beaten 6-2 by his great rivals, yeah, and still get praise. 6-2 was like, yeah, but he's a fresh breath air. But just going away from Bielsa, because we'll go back onto him. Yeah. It's a bit of a strange time now because obviously with no fans going there. Now, for me, I grew up, you know, with this great rivalry with Liverpool. And then when Howard Wilkinson's team got promoted, I was seeing, when I went to the first United Leeds game, I was seeing grown men like my dad frothing around the mouth. I mean, this is a rivalry like no other. It's one of the most aggressive rivalries
I go back before then, I go back to the Don Revy, the Peter Lorrimers. I'm an old cap. My brother was a Leeds United supporter. The Gray brothers, you know what I mean? The Cray brothers, you know what I mean? And stuff. You know, so you know, truth is the historical thing. I've never, you know, how it is because my kind of Man United historical isn't great. You know what I mean? I've just been since they're in Division 2. I was supported. I got stick in the playground as a kid, you know what I mean, and stuff. So I've been in, you know, it's kind of weird to, you know that they're coming back now. You know what I mean?
It's a strange game because, like, with Leeds, you never know what you're going to get, do you? I mean, they drew 1-1 with, they do 1-1 with Liverpool this week. And I've got to say, when we played him at Old Trafford, I was fearing, because I'd seen him play City, I'd seen him play Liverpool. And before we knew it, McSauce had scored 2 and the game was over, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. Because when I watched that game, even when we scored like 5 goals, I'm like, I was still nervous.
Yeah.
Because they just kept...
They just keep going. Keep going.
Keep going. They're like the zombies. You can't kill them.
But anyway, going back to the game, because I think they're going to give us, because they're at home and the way that they play, and I think they're going to be up for it. I think they're going to give us a real good game. I really do. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm very nervous. Umesh, how do you see it going?
I think it's going to be a lot tighter than the other one. I think a lot of people are going to go into it and go, "Oh, United should be doing this." There's no European football, so no hangover. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's going to be incredibly tight. I do think we'll win, but then maybe I've just been accustomed to the fact that that's what we're building now. That's, we're going into every game, and as fans, we've shifted from I hope we don't lose to I hope we don't draw. And that, for me, is a sign of progress, because I think last year I wasn't feeling like that. I was always going into it thinking, hang on a second, I don't know whether we're going to win this or not. I sincerely hope we turn up. And I reckon we'll win it by 2 goals. Whether we concede or not is another matter whatsoever.
We're going to concede. Bamford's absolutely going to bully Maguire. You know what I mean?
Anish, why are you sitting on the fence? Tell it how it is.
You know what? It could be a 2-2.
Okay. Well, forgive me, fellas. I always have to say this. We're gonna get battered. Now I've got that out of the way. No, I totally expect us to do this, simply because Leeds are an honourable team and they'll come and play football. They play football. And I think whenever we play against a team that plays football, I think we're almost unbeatable in the league. I don't think there's anyone... If anyone turns up to play football, we're always going to win.
Have we got the Roma game? How far's the Roma game after the Leeds game?
It's on Thursday. No, I think we're going to win.
I'm going to go for a 1-0 win. I think we'll sneak it. I can see Bruno getting a goal. He hasn't scored in the league for a while. So I'm going to go with that.
We'll need more than 1 goal. I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to need
more than 1 goal. No way. Leeds are not going to let us sit on 1 goal. They're going to be all guns blazing, mate. You know what I mean?
As it's been an historic week for football, and also an historic day for our podcast with Umesh and Anif making their debuts. It's come to that time where we have to wrap it up. It's been a pleasure, guys. And
Absolute pleasure. Brilliant.
Absolute pleasure. And we hope that you can join us again.
Really enjoyed it.
And come on the Red Shirt podcast. Anyway, it comes to the time where me and Nigel have to wrap it up. So, Nigel, our always famous words, which are basically keep safe, love football, and...
Keep the red flag flying! Glazers out!
The Red Shirt Podcast, by Reds, for Reds. Don't forget to like, follow and subscribe to the Red Shirt Podcast.